Good morning, Chief Bass. Welcome to Minot. I'm SrA Josh Strickland, and I have a video that I'm going to show you about a local airman who told us about his reason for service, and then we can begin the interview.
Can't wait to see it.
My name is Senior Airman Jamin Lavelle Christian, currently at Minot Air Force Base, North Dakota, working as a ComNav Systems Mechanic, Aircraft Maintenance Squadron. And I am originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. So when I was 9 years old, me and my dad had been caught in a fire. He died risking his life to save me. He had completely covered my body from the flames, aside from my face. And luckily, I only ended up suffering minor first and second degree burns. I was able to recover, but in doing so, he got third degree burns all over his body, and sadly, he wasn't able to make it. So I wanted to honor his memory and make him proud. So I decided that the best way to do that was to enlist. I joined the United States Air Force. Would I risk all that for a DUI? No, I wouldn't.
So that was Airman Christian's reason for service.
Yeah.
And we've had, the reason this video was made is we were having a rash of DUIs on Team Minot. So we got together and asked if you would risk that for a DUI. And I think that turns into also personal responsibility to our core values. So I was going to ask you, what is personal responsibility? Like, how does that help us uphold those core values that the Air Force sets forth to us?
So first of all, I just want to applaud Airman Christian for sharing his story, and I think it's important as airmen that we understand that every single one of the folks that we serve with all has a story, and I very much appreciate him sharing that about him and his father, and I'm glad that he wanted to make sure that his teammates knew that, like, why would you ever risk anything like that? And so personal responsibility for all of us, we have to take into account, what does integrity mean to us, service, what does excellence mean, and then somehow internalize that to be our moral compass on what right or wrong is. And I would also offer, from a personal responsibility perspective, that we have to be thoughtful of temporary, satisfaction and long-term gains. And something that is pretty temporary, and making choices to just drink and then get behind the wheel are not at all what you want to do when you consider the long-term gains on who you want to be as a person. And your temporary decisions can absolutely have an impact on you and have an impact on others. And you never want to put yourself in that position.
Yes, ma'am. I believe personal responsibility is really important because I believe that your actions and words and things that you do can influence the airmen around you.
Yeah.
So I think your personal responsibility is of great most importance, because what you do influences the actions and words and the way other people's career will be, and also can impact those. So if you saw an airman getting into a car, drunk, or you saw them making inappropriate comments at work, silence is agreement. If you don't say something, that speaks to your personal responsibility as well.
Agreed. And we all have an opportunity to be able to influence. And so, my hope as a Chief Master in the Air Force is that we all influence for good, to help bring each other along on just taking care of each other.
And I think we also have a responsibility to help others build that as well. Because some are built with that innate ability to sense what's right and wrong, but sometimes that's a daily struggle for all of us.
Yeah.
To constantly battle to choose what's right and wrong. So I think we also have that choice every day to choose whether or not I'm going to influence, because you could be affecting someone else's decision, and that could affect their career, what they're going to say next, their day, because you don't know how that's going to go on and spiderweb throughout the day.
Yeah.
So I think as airmen we have the responsibility to our core values and to our fellow wingmen and airmen speak up and say something when we see something that's not right.
I agree. And here's what I always share with people, going to basic training and tech training doesn't automatically make you somebody who lives your core values. And we all come from different walks of life. So airmen who come from some places have a different definition of what integrity is. Integrity may not be snitching on your teammate or your friend. And so I know that from my own experiences. I came into our Air Force and I was taught, here are your core values. But that didn't mean that I lived those things out. I had to grow into the person that I am. And it's through my Air Force family where I really started to learn, okay, here is really what integrity means, and here's what service means, and here's what excellence means, and how can I live those things out. So sometimes it's not, again, innate, but we can help influence and define that in us.
Yes, ma'am. And speaking also for reasons for service, I was going to ask you, so my reason for service is I joined because I wanted to create a life and adopt children later on. So I wanted to ask, what's your reason for service being the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force?
Well, so first of all, Airman Strickland, you're kind of shaming me because I did not join for those honorable reasons. To be honest, when I first joined and chose to serve, it was to just simply get my GI Bill and figure out what I wanted to do in life. As I've grown in service, as I've went on deployments and been part of organizations that have really impacted me the most, and I've learned that service is actually a calling. And I think most of our brothers and sisters who serve beyond their first enlistment realize that this is a calling. This is not a job. It's part of an opportunity and a privilege to wear this uniform every day and be a part of a profession of arms and something way bigger than us. So while I started off serving for my GI Bill, there's so much more to why we serve. And now I continue to serve because, I feel like it's my calling to make sure that I'm doing my best to move the ball, help influence the Air Force for where it needs to be, but also to help grow and build future airmen who will, one day be their best first sergeant, supervisor, commander, and maybe chief master in the Air Force.
Amazing. I think one of the last things I want to talk about is, what do you want to say to the airmen of Minot and about your visit here?
Let me tell you, I have loved my time here at Minot Air Force Base. And for the record, we tried to come here during January and we just couldn't make it out of Maelstrom. But my hope is that we're able to come back here during the winter time and spend more time with the folks in Team Minot, because I could not be more proud of their service and what they do on behalf of our nation. They have a critical mission here. With our B-52s, as well as with our nuclear capabilities. Every single airman from every AFSC is so very critical to making sure that we are able to project air power anytime, anywhere. And I couldn't be more proud. And I also couldn't be more proud at the airmen who are empowered to just get after it and create a culture that we want. Throughout my time here, I've heard that, this is for airmen, by airmen. And I love that they're empowered and taking that on to create the culture that they want and expect at a place where they live and work.
Well, I think one of the last things I'd like to say is, we see every day what you do, and you listen to every airman's comment, their ideas, their concerns, and to be such a high visibility leader, I think I just want to say thank you for listening and taking action whenever you hear and see something. It really means something to us, even down at the bottom. We see what you do and appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that, Ms. Strickland. So I'm gonna reframe something for you. When I came in the Air Force, I felt like I was way down at the bottom too, and we had this triangle, and that was the leadership triangle. And now I see it very differently. I see that leadership triangle is being inverted. And here's me and General Brown and the Secretary of the Air Force, and we work for our airmen. And so that's why we do what we do. So thanks for that.
Thank you.